Elevators finally upgraded to work like actual elevators. Real Apex Valakar can request time off, and money is losing its status in progression. Good evening, Immunity. It's Friday, April 3rd, and Dig That, aka Mr. Digglesworth, is here with some Star Citizen highlights for you. So grab your Caesar salad in a glass and hit and lock in with me for a bit. The Ivacati Tech Preview kicked off with a focus test on the elevator and tram upgrades, aka transport system. The intention is to finally get elevators, trains, and trams to play nice with server meshing. Ivacati put boots on the ground and marched in for some testing, and in its current state's a little rough, with folks blacking out on the train rides like a real New Yorker riding the subway. The upgrades are mostly invisible, but by popular request, your hangar will now appear at the top of the list instead of having to scroll down to the bottom. A little more interesting is that they now work more like IRL elevators, in that hopping in with some rando is okay now. They can hit the button for their hangar, you can hit the button for yours, maybe a third person hits the button for their hangar, and it'll deliver everybody to their location in order. For you savages who thought you were gonna hit all the buttons like a little kid then hop off, not gonna work. One floor request per customer, and if you press another button, your request gets thrown to the back of the queue, so you'll only be wasting your own time. There's even a button to hold the elevator doors open. A lot of my buddies like to wear big, slow, bulky armor, so there's been so many times that I'm in the elevator and the doors slam right in their face by the time they make it there. Well, now they can actually blame you when that happens because you didn't hit the whole door button. Thanks, CIG. These are the self-repairing elevators that we've heard about quite some time ago, so in the case of any issues occurring, it'll automatically recover with as little disruption as possible. Additional functionality that hasn't made its way into testing yet is categories of locations instead of one long scrolling list. A visible destination queue so you can see where the next stops are, and some form of communicating to players when elevators are experiencing delays. Now they can really throw a bow on it by adding some samba music in the background. The long-awaited real Apex Valakar that we've been waiting on for years, which is bigger than the Valakar of the radioactive variety, has been going through more dialing in. Now Shai Hulud has been boxed in to a limited range of the map it can move around in. It's giant, so that range will be bigger than the average studio apartment. Once you disturb its nap, it'll burst out of the ground after an unspecified number of seconds to pancake and rock vomit you into submission. But if you don't damage it enough to keep its attention within a certain number of seconds, it'll request to despawn and tunnel back into the surface. These little bitches out here too weak in the jeans to put up a real fight. I'm gonna need you to let me clock out early so I can head home and catch some Sandbob square shells. Money is dead. Long live the money. Not really, but the stated goal of the economy team is to move away from the current credits-dominated economy toward alternate progression systems like crafting and reputation. This will shift the economy from selling to NPC shops to a player-centric model where attaining crafting materials takes priority over making credits. They even noted that the current 4.7 crafting system is an interim implementation that offers high margins to nudge folks into crafting. They stated, "We are being generous with high-end Ceruleum ore to pull players into the mining and fabrication pipeline." If you've actually mined Ceruleum, you know that if you manage to crack one open, you earn the hell out of whatever you get from it. It's like trying to crack an oyster with a paper straw. The super highly anticipated Drake Kraken passes white box review, allowing it to make its merry way to gray box development. Expectations are for a 2027 release on that, but that's not stopping folks from dreaming up dreams about what they gonna do with it. What's further along in development and getting ready for its close-up is the Drake Ironclad, aka the Caterpillar. Past the white box, gray box, and final art phases, and at the time of the monthly report was going through a lighting pass. The Caterpillars and their detachable command modules passed through the level of detail phases, so they well on their way to be ready for a debut. The art team also went back to attack the Caterpillar command module. Hopefully we'll also be seeing that soon. The Gatak Raylan should have passed his gray box review by now and be on track for a possible June release during Alien Week. We haven't seen any movement on the Galaxy for a while till now. Some resources were moved back to it, and they made some adjustments to the front half of the lower deck to be less isolated and keep it from leading to a dead end. 5 unannounced ships progressed, with one passing through white and gray box. They described it to be a simple idea that evolved into something more complex. The second and third ships have passed through gray box, with the fourth approaching the gray box review and fifth approaching its white box review. Hopefully one of them is the whole G with that innovative inchworm locomotion. I know you got some guesses on what the rest could be. The whole B will be revealed next week and likely released in a 4.7.x cycle. The Grey Cat UTV went through a VFX pass and bug fixing. We'll see more of that soon. Audio team putting in work, provided the new Claw Salamander gang with a unique language. English. Following this, they began designing further language packs for future builds. This is dope. I don't know who these claw fellers are or why they don't speak basic, but the need to know more intensifies, and I think it'll be cool for folks to begin deciphering what they saying as they lob grenades at them. Progress was made on the hacking tool, which will probably look similar to the Squadron 42 version, maybe a little bit more futuristic, so Star Citizen is 11 or so years into Squadron 42's future. The Starfarer refueling mechanic. Alright, so they told us they were simplifying the process, and I was under the impression that just meant the refueling UI, because there's all the buttons and the valve pressure to worry about. It's a little complicated. I thought that'd be a weak move for them to simplify that, because learning the procedures and developing the skills to refuel efficiently gave players that put in the time value over rookie refuelers spraying gas everywhere and snapping off the fuel boom. Removing the complexity in favor of making it simple for anybody to use is trendy and boring. Turns out it's worse than that. They're completely automating the docking process. You're close enough to the ship, auto dock engages. The refueler ship can also back up into the other ship to engage auto dock. How you gonna take out one of the coolest parts in all games with flying and replace it with just fly close enough and the game will take over? Alright, to keep it a buck, when I dock at stations, I often line up just close enough to engage auto dock. And I'm sure a lot of you do too, but that's because the X and Y positions are tough to work out with the current UI. Pitch, yaw, and roll is easy, but that square for X and Y, not so much. They didn't explicitly say they're removing manual docking, but if auto docking is triggered by proximity, then yeah, your interstellar movie docking roleplay is gone ski. This is where we at now, hoping for optional complexity. Anywho, that's on track for 4.8. Ship hanger service. Ship hanger servicing got through its first internal playable review, so this is also looking good for 4.8 to let you refuel, repair, and restock in ship hangers like the Idris. That's gonna be huge for orgs and even solo players out there living that space nomad life. March didn't have the flashiest monthly report, but it did give some insight into foundational changes that'll have some long-term impact. Well, let's talk about a little crafting. You remember that crafting? As cool as it is right now, doesn't even scratch the surface of where we're going with this. As we speak, they got a lot cooking in the oven with 375 degrees on the dash. Big additions to the crafting process from A to Z. You can find blueprints on data pads, which you can either use or sell to somebody else, which is your choice, because once the data pad's used, blueprint cannot be transferred. NPC shops will sell blueprints. Blueprints will have tiers 1, 2, and 3, except ship blueprints, which will have 5 tiers. Will the higher numbers be the lower tiers like med beds? I don't know, but whichever is higher will give you the option to apply higher stats to your items, assuming you have enough higher quality material for it. Higher tier blueprints will also have more complex requirements. You can increase a blueprint's tier through research. Is this something that will finally make the Endeavor make sense at some point? The functionality of that ship always felt a little nebulous, so I know everybody wouldn't mind an update on that, but CIG probably ain't even thinking about that ship right now. Crafting a higher level item from scratch will be more efficient than upgrading one, which I'm sure means uses less resources. They're cooking up an app for the blueprints with folders for materials of the same type with different quality levels. Refining, worth paying attention to. About to get some sexy flexy complexity. The new system will have you creating alloys, aka making one material from more than one. For example, you may have a crafting recipe that requires steel. So instead of just taking raw iron and changing it to refined iron, you'll take raw iron plus carbon and refine that into steel. The quality of the iron determines the quality of the refined product, just like right now. But the secondary material, in this case the carbon, the lower the quality of the carbon, the more you'll need to use. The new system will also allow you to use other resources like creature harvestables to create new materials. At your fabricator, you'll have the option to include optional catalysts in your crafting jobs that add additional stats. They're working out bringing the ship crafting machines online in ships like the Clipper and Carrack, which will use materials from your cargo grid. You can loot NPCs and boxes for crafting gear, and if you dismantle those, you'll get materials of varying quality instead of 0 like we have right now. NPC shops will start adjusting what they pay you based on quality. Food fabricators, medical fabricators, and construction fabricators are under construction. Now, I think food fabricators is pretty cool when you have an army of folks to feed or want to be a food merchant. That's dope. I hope that isn't the only means of producing food. I always dreamed of chefing up some meals manually. Maybe raid the pantry in the Butamus 890 jump kitchen and turn it into an avant-garde food lab. Pyro Terra Fusion. You know you need it. Going forward, there won't be craft an item once and forget about it. Items will degrade with usage, impacting its functionality, like guns jamming. You can repair it, but not back to new, and each repair reduces the max functionality of it, so over time and multiple repairs, the more it malfunctions. Items can also get damaged in the field, requiring repairs. When insurance is in, item recovery and claiming the item won't reset functionality. Basically, expect the craft replacements. Even pledge items aren't immune to degradation. They'll never become completely unusable, and also those items can be fully restored, unlike everything else. All pledge items will be tier 1 and never degrade down to tier 0, which I guess answers the "are lower numbers higher" question. Tier 3 will be highest. If your pledge item has a unique livery, you'll get a cosmetic paint item. I'm assuming that's something used in a repair process and maybe crafting without getting consumed. Salvage, which has kind of been sitting the bench since crafting dropped, will be integrated. When vehicle crafting drops, it'll be like dismantling items in the fabricator, in that you get the type of refined materials that the salvaged item is made out of. Apparently, some materials can only be gained this way, like getting alien metals from salvaging alien ships. Let me know when we can shove different aliens to get new meats in a food fabricator.